Hello students, today we are going to start chapter number 4 after 20 years. This chapter is written by O. Henry. In this chapter, we are going to learn about the friendship of two people, two friends. Alright. In this chapter, it is the story of two friends who meet after 20 years. Now, how they meet, what happens when they meet, let's read the chapter and find out. So, take out your book, open page number 27 of your book and let's read chapter number 4. The policeman on the beat moved up the avenue impressively. The impressiveness was habitual and not for the show, for spectators were few. The time was barely 10 o'clock at night, but chilly gusts of wind with a taste of rain in them had well nigh depeopled the streets. Now what the writer is saying, what the narrator is saying in the story, in this first paragraph, that the road was vacant. There were very few people and there was a patrolling policeman who was walking on the street. Beat means the area where the police take rounds. And when this policeman was taking rounds on the street, he was taking round in some swag. There was a swag, there was a style in himself. But it was not for the show. It was very habitual. It was coming naturally. It was not a swag for style, as there was no one to see his style. And the roads were vacant. Why they were vacant? Because these were the chilly nights. There was so much of cold outside in the weather. And little rain was also going there. Trying doors as he went, twirling his club with many intricate and artful movements, turning now and then to cast his watchful eye down the Pacific thoroughfare, the officer with his stalwart form and slight swagger made a fine picture of a guardian of peace. The vicinity was one that kept early hours. Now and then you might see the lights of a cigar, but the majority of the door belonged to the business place that had long since been closed. Trying doors as he went, twirling his club with many intricate artful movements. He was passing through the shops as walking in style, turning now and then to cast his watchful eye. He was turning here and there, looking here and there with a watchful eye, that making sure that everything is okay on that street. And this street was not a residential one. It was a commercial, it was a business place. There were only shops and shops over there. When about midway on a certain block, the policeman suddenly slowed his walk. In the doorway of the darkened hardware store, turn your page. A man leaned with an unlighted cigar in his mouth. As the policeman walked up to him, the man spoke as quickly. "It's all right, officer," he said reassuringly. "I'm just waiting for a friend. It's an appointment made 20 years ago. Sounds a little funny. to you, doesn't it? Well, I will explain. If you would like to make certain, it's all right. About that long ago, there used to be a restaurant where this store stands. Big Joy Brady Restaurant. Now, here the narrator is saying that as the policeman walked past by the shops, there was a hardware shop and a man was standing in front of that hardware shop taking a cigar in his mouth. He had a cigar in his mouth which was not lighted. The policeman stopped, slowed his walk and moved towards that man. And as the policeman moved towards that man, the man quickly spoke. Maybe he got afraid of the police. So he quickly spoke, "It's all right. You don't have to worry about it. I'm just standing here waiting for my friend, and you will surprised to know that we are meeting after 20 years. It might sound funny to you, but it is not. Really, we are meeting after 20 years. And I will make sure, I will tell you the story why we are doing it so, why we are having a meet, why I am having a meet with my friend after 20 years. I will tell you everything. But if you make sure that everything is fine and you do not predict that something is cooking over there." So he told that the place on which we are standing right now, where we are right now, here there was a restaurant earlier named Big Joe Brady's Restaurant. Until 5 years ago, said the policeman, it was torn down then. Then the policeman said that there was, yes, you are right, there was a restaurant, but 5 years ago, it was torn down. The man in the doorway struck a match and lit his cigar. The light showed a pale, square-jawed face with keen eyes and a little white scare near his eyebrow. His scarf pin was there was a large diamond oddly set. Now, as soon as the man lightened up his cigar, there was some light when he lightened up his cigar. Then the policeman saw his face. It was a pale face, square-jawed, and with his keen eyes, and there was a scar on his eyebrow, and he was wearing a scarf, and in that scarf there was a pin in which diamond was oddly set. So anyone can come to know that he was a rich man because he was having a scarf pin made of diamond. 20 years ago tonight, said the man, I dined here at Big Joe Brady with Jimmy Wells, my best chum. Chum means friend, best friend. You can have all the word meanings in your book. There are word meanings, the words which are marked red, they are the hard words, and the meanings are given in the book. And the finest chap in the world. He and I were raised here in New York, just like two brothers together. I was 18 and Jimmy was 20. The next morning, I was to start for the West to make my fortune. You couldn't have dragged Jimmy out of New York. He thought it was the only place on earth. Well, we agreed that night that we would meet here again, exactly 20 years from the date and time. No matter what our conditions might be, or from what distance we might have to come. Destiny worked out and our fortunes made, whatever they were going to be. Now, he started telling his story that 20 years ago, when there was a restaurant, we were dining out in that restaurant, and Jimmy and I was having a talk that now it's the time that we should make our fortune. And the man, the narrator, he said, the narrator who was telling the story of 20 years ago, he said that I decided, next morning I told him that I have decided to go to the West to earn money. But G.B. Wells, the other friend, it was difficult for him to leave New York. He didn't want to leave New York. And they were having an argument that why you don't want to leave the New York and all that. But they settled on a point that if you are not going to leave New York, I am going to West to earn money. And 20 years later, same date, same time, we are going to meet after 20 years to see what has happened in our lives after 20 years. How much you have earned, how much I have earned, and we are going to meet to rebond our friendship and to share our experience of these 20 years. It sounds pretty interesting, said the policeman. Rather a long time between meets though. It seems to me. Haven't you heard from your friend since you left? Now the policeman said that your story sounds pretty interesting. But I want to know that these 20 years, didn't you both had any kind of communication? Well, yes, for a time we corresponded, said the other. But a year or two we lost track of each other. You see, the West is a pretty big proposition, and I kept hustling around over it pretty lively. But I know Jimmy will meet me here if he's alive, for he always was the truest, staunchest old chap in the world. He will never forget. I have come 1,000 miles to stand in this door tonight, and it's worth it if my older partner turns up. Now, the narrator said that yes, we corresponded for a year or two, but then I moved from one place to another. So we lost the track, we lost our communication, then we didn't communicate it with each other. And now, after 20 years, today we are meeting. And I know that if my friend is alive, he will definitely come to meet me. Why? Because he was a person, he was a man of his words. And definitely, he is going to meet me. As, look at me, I am coming here after 20 years. To keep my words, to keep my promise, and it will be my, my traveling here, my coming here will be worth if my friend also turns up. And definitely, I am pretty sure that if he is alive, he will definitely come here to meet me. The waiting man pulled out a handsome watch, the lids of it set with small diamonds. Now here in this line, after reading this line, now it's pretty sure, we come to know that it is pretty sure that the man is very rich. The man who was waiting for his friend, he was very rich. How? That after this, he takes out a watch from his pocket, a pocket watch, and there were diamonds on the lid of that watch. 3 minutes to 10, he announced. It was exactly 10 o'clock when we parted here at the restaurant door. Now the waiting man said that now there are only 3 minutes left to be 10 o'clock. And this was the time when we both friends parted our ways. did pretty well out west, didn't you? Asked the policeman. Now the question here arises. When the policeman saw that he was wearing a scarf, having a diamond in it, he is having a watch on which lead there were diamonds there. So the policeman asked that, I think that you have done a pretty good job at West, as you are owing this so much of expensive things with you. You bet. I hope Jimmy has done half a well. He was kind of plodder, though good fellow as he was. I have had to compete with some of the sharpest wits going to get my pile. A man gets in a groove in New York. It takes the West to put a razor edge on him. You bet I have done a great job at the West. In New York, you can groove yourself, you can groom yourself to be a better man. But in West, if you have in the West, if you have to do a good job, you have to work on your edge, you have to always be on your toes. Why? Because the people there are very, very witty, right? They cannot be fooled like that. So you have to work on your edge if you have to earn money in the West. The policeman twirled his club and took a step or two. I'll be on my way. Hope your friends come around all right. Going to call time on him sharp. I should say not, said the other. I'll give him half an hour at least. If Jimmy is alive on earth, he will be there by that time. So long, officer. Now he said that I'll be on my way. Now I will leave. I will take a leave from you and best of luck. And just tell me that are you also going to leave or you are going to wait here for your friend? Then the waiting man said, why not? I will give half an hour more to my friend and half an hour baad I'll go away because I want to give him half an hour more for benefit of doubt to my friend. And if he is alive, he is repeating the lines again. If he is alive, he will definitely come here to meet me. Good night, sir, said the policeman, passing on along his beat, trying doors as he went. There was a fine cold drizzle falling, and wind had risen from its uncertain puffs into steady blow. The few foot passengers astir in that quarter hurried dismally and silently along with coat collars turned high and pocketed hands. Now, the policeman took a leave, saying him good night, and moved by his beat. And now, the narrator is talking about the weather, how the weather was coming to a steady position. It was cold, it was drizzling, but the wind who was blowing fast earlier, now it has slowed down. And the people who are passing by, they have put their collars high and their hands are in their pocket. So, this was the part 1. In the second part, we are going to read the further story. Now children, let's have a look on some of the hard words from the chapter which we have read till now. Beat. The area that a policeman walks around regularly. Now it is an area from which a policeman do patrolling every day. Spectator. Spectator means viewer. Third word, nigh. Nigh means almost. Fourth, twirling. Twirling means making something move in circles like this, rolling his that stand. Stick. The policeman was having a stick, so he was twirling his stick like this in circle movement. Stalwart, powerfully built. Sixth, swagger, to walk in an extremely proud and confident way. To walk in a very confident way. Word number 7, vicinity, area around a particular place. Now it is an area around a particular place. Chum. As I told you when we were reading the chapter, chum means friend, old friend. Chap. Chap means person. Staunch chest. Staunch chest means very loyal and committed in attitude. A person who is very loyal towards someone and who is committed for something, who is committed to his job, maybe committed to his job, a very loyal person. So, who was a loyal person over here? Jimmy Wales, because he didn't wanted to leave his country, New York. He didn't wanted to leave New York. He was a good friend. He was very loyal and he was very committed towards his job, towards his country, towards its place where he took birth. That's why he didn't wanted to leave New York. Plodder. Now, who is plodder? What is plodder? A slow and perseverant worker. Plodder means who works slowly, who doesn't want to, who doesn't want to earn money in hard and fast, who doesn't want a big thing from his life. A satisfied person, as Jimmy Wales was. And the last word, austere. Austere means moving. Something which is in moving position. So these were the words which we have came to know till now, which we have came across till now. With this, we have come to an end of the first part of the chapter. In the next part, we are going to read the chapter further, and along with that, we are going to do the word meanings as well as the exercises.